If there were a couple of things that you would like to make a difference in the Indian motorsports scenario, what would those two, three things be?
Firstly, so in these past 3 years where I've been racing, I've seen motorsports in India already develop a lot in the right direction. Like when I was racing back in 2021, we didn't have stuff like the Indian Racing League, Indian F4 Championship.
Oh, okay.
These are all new things that,
They came up later over.
2023.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I feel internationally, if you look at UK, right, the coverage over motorsports there is phenomenal. You'll see a headline about the British Touring Car Championship, about the British Formula 4 Championship, about the GB3, all these different championships, British GT. You'll see constant headlines. But then over here, I feel with our grassroots level championships, like the MRF and JK10 National Racing Championships, you won't see much of that. You won't see much coverage. And if there's no coverage, there's no one getting to know कि India में racing हो भी रही है.
Correct.
I feel we need to make motorsports accessible.
Okay.
It's already accessible to the younger generation, I'd say. We've got lots of grassroots level championships. We've got good karting championships.
Okay.
But we need to make it accessible at a lower cost to more casual karting drivers, for instance.
Wow.
So compared to previous years where there was one track on the calendar, we've seen 3 different this year. And that just makes it such a better playing field for drivers. One, because it's happening all over India now. It's not just Bangalore, जहाँ पे karting championship हो रही है. It's all across India, multiple cities.
Yeah.
And also it gives drivers more exposure because they'll be racing at different tracks. Because what more does a driver want than to drive at the more tracks? Because the more tracks you drive at, the more you learn as a driver.
Tell me one thing, you've raced in India, you've raced internationally also. So if I am to ask you, because I'm sure even if you have, let's say, 5 years of racing experience, 4 years of racing experience now. So if there were a couple of things that you would like to make a difference in the Indian motorsports scenario, what would those two, three things be?
So firstly, so in these past 3 years where I've been racing, I've seen motorsports in India already develop a lot in the right direction, right? Like when I was racing back in 2021, we didn't have stuff like the Indian Racing League, Indian F4 Championship.
Oh, okay.
These are all new things that,
They came up later over.
2023.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And then obviously we also have the JK and MRF National Racing Championships. And I feel with Indian F4 especially and Indian Racing League coming in, it's getting a lot more coverage now, which was the first problem, coverage. Because I feel internationally, if you look at UK, right, the coverage over motorsports there is phenomenal. You'll see a headline about the British Touring Car Championship, about the British Formula 4 Championship, about the GB3, all these different championships, British GT. You'll see constant headlines. But then over here, I feel with our grassroots level championships, like the MRF and JK10 National Racing Championships, you won't see much of that. You won't see much coverage. And if there's no coverage, there's no one getting to know कि India में racing हो भी रही है.
Correct.
But I feel Indian F4 has helped that a lot because lots of my friends, everyone, earlier they were also like India में racing होती भी है because they just look at BSE and they see that BSE has a lot of track days, but they haven't been to many Indian National Circuit racing events there for the last few years. But then now that Indian F4 is coming up, they're all asking me about Indian F4, Indian Racing League. They're asking me about all of this. So these 2 championships have really helped that ways. And then second problem is accessibility, I'd say.
Okay.
Because I feel we need to make motorsports accessible to... It's already accessible to the younger generation, I'd say. We've got lots of grassroots level championships. We've got good karting championships.
Okay.
But we need to make it accessible at a lower cost to more casual karting drivers, for instance.
Can you name a few karting championships and the championships that are happening which the younger generation, like your generation, I would say, could start with?
So right now we have the National Karting Championship. The National Karting Championship happens. So earlier it was all rounds at the Miko Kartopia track, which was in Bangalore. But now recently we've actually had a new karting track in India, grade 1 karting track, open as of last month. which is called Mika, the Madras International Karting Arena.
The one which was inaugurated, I think, by
Mika
Karthikeyan and
By Mika Hakkinen and Naren Karthikeyan.
right.
So this is located right next to the MMRT Madras Motor Racetrack for cars. And this is a proper 1.2 kilometer grade 1 CIKFI grade 1 karting track.
Okay.
That is made to be up to standards for hosting international karting events.
Okay.
You know, up the Asian Championships. It's up to standard for the World Championship too, I believe. So I feel in terms of track infrastructure, the championship is getting better now because the National Karting Championship is now going to multiple tracks,
Okay.
not just one.
Okay.
So this makes it better for drivers. Then we had another karting track as well this year.
Okay.
So there's a new racetrack being built in Coimbatore called the Coast High Performance Center.
Okay.
So this is a FIA grade 2 or grade 3 track, I believe.
Okay.
About 3-4 kilometers long.
Okay.
Heard really good things about the track. I've not driven there personally yet.
Okay.
But you know, lots of my friends who race, they've tested there.
Okay.
And track's coming off great. So next to the track, they've created the Coast Karting track. It's called Coast Kartomania, I believe.
Okay.
So that again is, you know, a new karting track in India, which the National Karting Championship raced at this year.
Wow.
So compared to previous years where there was one track on the calendar, we've seen 3 different this year. And that just makes it such a better playing field for drivers. One, because it's happening all over India now. It's not just Bangalore, जहाँ पे karting championship हो रही है. It's all across India, multiple cities.
Yeah.
And also it gives drivers more exposure because they'll be racing at different tracks. Because what more does a driver want than, you know, to drive at the more tracks? Because the more tracks you drive at, the more you learn as a driver.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Then apart from the National Karting Championship, so this championship I told you about, this is the topmost championship in India. It's got 3 categories: micro, junior and senior.
Okay.
So micro is basically for like 7 to 12 year old kids, you know, only young kids.
Okay.
Even some 5-6 year olds, I believe.
Okay.
Then juniors 12.
I think officially, I'm sorry cutting you in the middle, but
Yeah.
officially after you're 5 years of age, you can start karting, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Right.
It's 5 or 6.
5
Not
or
exactly
6.
sure. Yeah.
Ah, right. Correct.
But yeah, basically from that age until 12 is your micro. From your 12 to 15, 16 comes your junior. And then above 16 is the senior category. So that's how it works.
Okay.
And these are 2-stroke Rotax go-karts.
Correct.
Same ones that are used around the world for the respective Rotax championships around the world. And then otherwise we've got different championships like the Miko Meritus Cup.
Okay.
So this is a smaller championship also with Rotax karts,
Okay.
which was done in Miko Kartopia.
Okay.
And this is the only karting championship that I personally have raced in.
Okay.
So in 2022, I did 1 round of the Miko Meritus Cup, my first time ever karting. And honestly, these professional go-karts, even after driving the 4-stroke normal go-karts, which, you know, everyone drives a lot, I thought, how much different can it be? How difficult can it be? But then when I sat in it for the first time, these pro karts, it's crazy. They really accelerate really quick. I feel then it can really put a toll on your body as well.
I think if I'm not wrong, they rev also quite high.
Yeah, I think it's 14-15k RPM probably.
Oh wow.
And then I almost cracked a rib as well my first time in a kart. Quite a funny story because I went into it quite confident. I'm like, it's a go-kart, you know.
Yeah.
How much harm can it do to me? And I went out without a rib protector, which is a part of a kit for a karting driver.
You cracked a rib? How?
Almost. One of the curbs at Miko Kartopia,
Okay.
turn 8.
Okay.
It's a very fast right-hand corner.
Yeah.
And it's quite a high curb.
Okay.
I don't know the track much. It's my first time there.
Right.
I'm pushing the kart first lap itself. I go, I hit the curb without a rib protector. My body moves across the kart like this. And then, yeah, just excruciating pain. Entire right rib is red. Then we went for a scan as well. Not cracked, thankfully. But scary experience, humbling experience. But
That's the first time I'm hearing that while driving, just because of a curb, hitting a curb, you almost fractured a rib. I mean, that's...
I was pretty weak in 2022. That's one factor. And then again, no rib protector and big curbs in karting, I think is a big no-no because even normally, no one hits that curb. Part of the racing line, you always drive around the curb. That's something I learned later.
Okay.
Because with these high curves, one, you unsettle the kart obviously because you're going to get some air time.
Right.
Two, you might damage the chassis of the car because you're hitting a curb, high speed.
Yeah.
Three, if you're hitting at a high speed without a rip protector and your seat is not molded for your body, because the seat was quite big for me.
Right.
I went and I moved around the seat, and that's obviously going to have some cracks.
Right.
But then, yeah, luckily, I think that week I got a pretty lucky podium as well. It was my first karting race, and then, so the Meritus Cup in 2022, there is something unique. They had one sprint race and they had an endurance karting race. So this was a 45-minute kart race that happened. And you know, I could survive 15-20 minutes in these karts back then. 45, the whole race, I was trying my best, but like my body was dying. I couldn't hold on to the wheel after, but I was like taking one hand rest on the straight. But you know, just by being on track for 45 minutes, staying consistent, I finished second in class that race.
यार ये सही है यार.
That was nice.
पहले गो कार्ट की रेस कर रहा है, उस पे भी पोडियम लेके आ गया. सेकंड मोटरस्पोर्ट्स इवेंट किया अपनी लाइफ का, उस पे भी पोडियम लेके आया है.
Yeah.
I mean that says so much about your focus levels, and I think your commitment and your consistency, dude. Honestly,
Consistency and focus, I would say, two of the most challenging things for me. Focus especially because 2021, 2022, I had like terrible focus. I couldn't focus on, you know, driving much. I was very distracted. And so that's something I've come to realize more in 2023 and 2024, that when I'm at the track, now I've learned to just switch on a sort of focus mode where, you know, if I'm at the track, it's all business, it's all work. Like, you know, I look at data, look at telemetry, you know, sit with my mechanics, look at my onboard video with my coaches, and just do everything possible to improve myself as a racing driver.
okay.
Sure, the second the day is over, उसके बाद मस्ती वगैरह शुरू हो सकती है. But I've learned to, you know, realize and have that focus switch during the day when I'm at the track.
I guess you need to.
You need to. Something I realized quite late,
Yeah.
but something I'm happy I've realized and a very important learning. And otherwise consistency, because especially in long races, like I planned, like my ultimate dream, for example, like I said, was a Nürburgring 24 hours, right? A 24-hour race around Nürburgring, you need to be very consistent that every lap you're doing consistently quick lap times. It's not that, you know, one lap I'm fast, one lap I'm slow. You need to have that focus to consistently do the same thing every lap again and again for the entirety of your stint in the race.
Wow.
So that's, I feel, very challenging because of my lack of focus initially, the consistency itself was bad.
Correct.
But I feel when the focus got better from my end, the consistency in my driving also started building in.
Interesting. You were telling me something, I mean off camera, you were telling me something about an initiative that you've taken in the karting space to make motorsports more accessible. Talk to me about that.
So, for some context, when I first started karting casually, I would just go kart casually in Delhi and Gurgaon when I was 12, 13. And I would drive alone. There would not be exactly race events where I could participate in races, even if it's casual fun races, right? So, to basically fix this for new drivers in karting, even, you know, people who are older but want to have some fun in go-karts, everybody, we've created Delhi Karting Cup. Me and two of my friends. So I feel with Delhi Karting Cup, one of the best things is that one, we'll see drivers ranging from a 12-year-old to a 46-year-old.
Okay.
And they're all there to have fun with the common goal of racing together in, you know, just having a good fun time, not too competitive. No one's, you know, there to exactly come first and win. We're all there to learn from each other, have a good time,
right,
and just do some good clean racing. And now in November, actually, we're planning something which is happening for the first time ever in North India.
Okay.
Which is the first ever endurance karting race.
What exactly is that?
So endurance racing is obviously a long form of racing where races are pretty long. So we are planning a 1 hour to a 1 hour 30-minute team race.
Okay.
With 2 drivers in a team and a mandatory pit stop in the middle.
Okay.
And this is just to, you know, give drivers here an exposure of endurance karting racing as well.
Okay.
Because I feel in Dubai, for example, there's a very popular race. It's called the Dubai Karting 24-hour race or the Dubai Karting Endurance Series.
24 hours of karting
in Dubai, yeah, at the kartdrome. or they have the 12-hour races as well, the 6-hour races, the 3 hours, and even the 1 hour at Dubai. And that's a very popular endurance race. I'm bringing it up. Other examples could include, there was a 24-hour one in the UK. I'm forgetting which track. It's really popular, but yeah, can't remember the track's name right now.
That's fine.
So we want to get that similar culture over here of endurance kart racing. So I feel a good start at least would be a 1 hour, 1 hour 30-minute race, because these karts itself, after a certain amount of driving, they take wear and tear. And obviously wear and tear would mean that one kart is not equal from another. And at least at Delhi Karting Club, our first priority is that we try to make the karts as equal as possible.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be ki ek kart, 3 second तेज है दूसरे कार्ड से, they all should be similar lap time within 1 second is the type of guarantee that we're trying to give, which is very difficult to achieve with rental carts that are being driven by everybody at an everyday basis. जो भी karting truck जा रहे, they're all driving these carts.
Right.
So with a 1 hour to 1 hour 30-minute race, we're trying to give a guarantee that all co-karts will be within 1 second of performance time.
Okay.
And you're going to guarantee get 45 minutes of seat time per driver.
Okay.
Including a practice and qualifying session, which will be before the race.
Okay.
And it's going to be 2 drivers in a team race. And yeah, it's just something brand new that we're trying to get into the scene now.
And I think that will just help people in mastering racecraft.
Absolutely.
Because pulling out times on a go-kart track versus developing that racecraft, or let's say racing against somebody, it's a very different level of pressure that you experience and different dynamics, which I also, this term, I got to know about this term very recently, which makes a lot of sense. And Mole was only mentioning in his podcast about racecraft, कि जब आप race कर रहे हो तो बिल्कुल ही अलग level का pressure होता है. So I think it's very important for even budding enthusiasts, go-kart enthusiasts to really experience that. Start with being aggressive and eventually realizing that you can't cut it if you're aggressive.
And that's why our
what I mean is you need to have controlled aggression, like discussed earlier.
Our motive is open to everybody, We don't care. You can be a 10-time national champion if you want. You can be some casual go-kart if you want. But we want to have that community that's open to everybody and everyone, as long as they have a passion to race.
Of course.
And more than racecraft, I'd say with an endurance race, people will get the feeling of consistency. Which, you can do fast lap time for 10 minutes, 5 minutes in a 6-minute, maybe rental karting session. But the second you have a 30 to 45 minute stint, and then your teammate has to do another 30 to 45 minutes, what really makes the difference in that scenario, at least what I've noticed from, sim racing, in these 3-hour or 10-hour races on the sim, I've noticed that is the consistency and how consistent your lap times can be. Everyone can do a fast lap time, but how many times can you repeat that same lap over and over without any mistakes? That's what defines, I would say, in my opinion, a good racing driver, and something which I'm myself trying to perfect every day when I'm on the sim or racing.
Interesting. You're about to have your boards, 12th boards coming in, right?
What time am I?
Next year. Next year. Tell me one thing, and this is something which I'm sure would interest a lot of young guns who are probably your similar age. How is the school taking what you're doing? How is the school responding to it?
Thankfully, so my attendance at school is 50%.
Okay.
That's meant to be obviously way higher than that, right?
Oh yeah.
And thankfully my school, they support me through racing. So they're fine with me taking leave if I'm participating in an event, if I have to go for some testing.
Okay.
They're all right with that. They understand. But then obviously the school also has strict requirements with deadlines for homework, assignments, reports, all of that.
Of course.
So, as long as I can get the work done, the school's fine with it. Even if I can't get the work done in time, my teachers understand and they're very supportive to, they can give me a 5-day extension on work, 7-day extension. They can get done with racing, come back, then work. Because I feel going to a race weekend with academic pressure is a big no-no. So something from the start itself is that the second, let's say it's Tuesday, I have to travel on Wednesday for the race weekend. Beyond this point, there's no thinking about studies at all. The entire mind has to be at the track, right? You can't commit to 2 things at one weekend. Because then you won't commit entirely to either one of them.
Correct.
So to put 100% of your mind into one of them is just optimal, and if I have academic pressure while I'm racing, you don't want that in your mind, no?
But on that, tell me one thing that, I mean, of course, now that you mentioned that you have, let's say 50% attendance, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
essentially you are missing out on a lot of classes, essentially that means. But then how do you cope up with that? Because, you know, whatever classroom studies that they're doing, they're teaching you something and you're supposed to prepare based on that for the exam. So how do you manage that?
That's where my friends help me out a lot, and my teachers as well, because my teachers are always ready to do extra classes with me. Like if in the evening I want to do some online class, I have a doubt, I can email my teachers whenever, you know, if during a lunch break in school, if I could understand something, I need some help, my teachers could help me. If I have a free period, I could get help from my teachers. The biggest help is my friends, of course, because they're in school, and if I can't understand something that I've missed in class, they'd help me out later on. So I feel they're the biggest, you know, support behind that.
God bless them and God bless you, man.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised because honestly, my school days is something, and this is something very personal. I'll tell you, I do not miss my school days at all, because I think that now how I am engaged with, I would not say motorsports, but doing something related to talking to people engaged in motorsports and motoring, I think I am living my life now. But for you, it's something so good that I'm able to see that you are having the time of your life.
100%.
When you're behind the wheel,
Yeah.
you are doing your academics, and I'm very sure you're getting great grades by what I can, by what I know for a fact.
Yeah.
So on that, do you think that alongside your school, being engaged in motorsports as a driver, how do you think that has evolved you as a student in school or as a human being also?
I think it just taught me the importance of time management and balance.
Okay.
Because, you know, let's say I have to travel in a few days and I have a lot of work. I don't want to be in that position, because if I'm in that position, it'll compromise the travel and the racing,
Of course.
which is my first priority, I'd say.
Of course.
So I've learned to manage my time in a way that none of my schoolwork interferes with any of my race weekend schedules, any of the time where I have to be on track. I just do my work early when I should, so that I can understand that I need to race later, so I'll get done with the work earlier, so I can have that free headspace when, you know, racing is around the corner.
Yeah. Interesting. Anything you would like to say to young guns like your own self, who are probably still finding themselves? Because you clearly seem to have found yourself. And I hope you understand when I what I mean when I say found yourself, like at a spiritual level also, and you know, in your head you've actually found yourself as a motorsports athlete alongside your schooling, and you're pursuing your passion, your hobby, as well as not compromising on your education, which is essentially the backbone of whatever you do in future. Is there anything like an advice or something you could possibly give to young guns like you who are still evolving themselves?
I would say just, you know, don't take too much pressure, because the second I take pressure, let's say about academics, I start taking pressure about an exam I've not studied for, and then I have that pressure in my mind, that little anxiety about what's about to happen. You can't perform with that, even on the track. You know, if I'm thinking with a pressured head, I'd never perform on track. That's happened to me many times. You know, if I'm racing with pressure, it's when a driver makes the most mistakes, when they're thinking about something else, they have pressure in their head. That's when you start messing up. And I think this is not only racing, but all aspects of life, right? If I'm taking pressure about school, I won't do well naturally at school. So if you just do everything with that clear focus and with a goal in mind for every small task as well, then that just keeps you very set on the track, I think.
But what do you do to deal with because I'm sure every now and then pressures do keep coming at you. Life keeps throwing stuff at you, right? So what do you do exactly when let's say you're about to get some sort of a pressure, let's say academic pressure or race pressure, whatever it is, how do you deal with it?
So I feel pressure stems from bad time management, right? When you have nothing to do is what pressure comes from, because when you have nothing to do right now, you should probably do what you have to do later on right now. Then let's say I can hang out with my friends later on. So you need to manage your time in a way that you never have a crunch of, let's say, 10, 15 things to get done in that one single day, right? Where I can just spread out all of that within that 2 weeks I had before when I was sitting free.
Yeah.
Then now I'll be more free to do whatever I wanted. I can go out with my friends. I can go karting wherever.
Yeah.
I can be on the simulator as much as I want.
Yeah.
Without any pressure whatsoever. Yeah.
Interesting. Great conversation, dude. And I think I'd like to end this conversation by, having like a 1 minute shoot or shot of you on the simulator, so that, and if at all possible for you, you could get on the simulator and talk to us through the dynamics of how a simulator works, and try to talk to us through, how is it in terms of accuracy compared to real racing, and how does it really help you? How does it help you in keeping your senses alive in motorsports, like you said earlier in the beginning of the podcast?
Yeah.
So let's do that.
So when you race professionally, it's difficult to obviously travel to a racetrack every week of the year and drive. And that's where sim racing comes in to help drivers. Because through the simulator, on sims such as iRacing and Assetto Corsa, you can practice these tracks from the convenience of your home. And for example, right now I'm driving the Mercedes AMG GT3 around Circuit de Catalunya, which is the Formula 1 track in Spain. And let's say I was to go drive this next weekend, by any chance. Someone gave me the opportunity to come drive this exact car at this track next weekend. The only reason I would know where to go, where to roughly brake, is because I had done laps on the sim before.
Okay.
Oh wait, wrong layout. I thought I had to go here. So that's where the sim helps drivers.
Okay.
And nowadays with modern day technology, we've got laser scan tracks, laser scan cars. So every part of the track, from each curb to each barrier, each reference marker, the length of the curb, the way when you hit the car, how the car jumps on the curb, everything is simulated very accurately. Even the car setup, I can tweak.
Honestly, I didn't even know about the laser scanning part of it. That's crazy.
I can tweak the downforce of the car, I can tweak, the ride height, I can tweak the tire pressures, and I can get an understanding of how changes to the setup of the car impact the car.
Okay.
And yeah, that's how it is basically.
Short, great conversation, man. I think thank you so much for your time, and God bless you. Godspeed.
Thank you.
May you achieve all your dreams in motorsports, and may you become an even better driver by the minute.
Yeah.
God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.